him back as Superman.
What the fuck is going on?
I don't know if you guys are aware, but a lot of things have been happening over at DC and Warner Bros. Discovery. First, Black Adam released to poor reviews from critics, but fans seem to love it, with many wondering how it's going to perform financially at the box office. Henry Cavill announced that he's officially back as Superman, and James Gunn has been promoted to co-CEO of DC Films. A lot has happened in a short amount of time, so I figured let's talk about it all in one video. And let's get the big one out of the way first, James Gunn's promotion. So James Gunn has been promoted to co-CEO of DC Films, alongside Peter Safran, which means that he's basically the Kevin Feige of the DC movies now, although he's clearly sharing the position with someone else, so it's not like he has complete control. Now I've been seeing two reactions to this. It's either
yes, 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 yes,
or it's
no, 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 fuck, shit.
Personally, I'm just kind of indifferent at the moment. I want to see what kind of decisions they make going forward before I just say that this is flat out terrible or an amazing decision. I know some people are more worried about James Gunn in particular, because some people might think that he's going to be putting his own signature touch or style on each movie going forward, but I don't think that's the case. Because I don't think James Gunn is the kind of guy that would force other filmmakers to bend to his style. Let's not forget that he was offered to do a Superman movie, but he turned it down to do the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker instead. So I don't believe that he thinks that his style is what every future DC project should be going forward. But having him in this position actually might be a big benefit, because him being a filmmaker, I think he would want the writers and directors to have the same level of control that he had. Because let's be honest, due to his Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he was given complete creative control over his projects at Warner Bros. So having him in this position might actually be a huge benefit to future directors and writers, because he understands what it's like to have to bend to the will of studios, producers, and execs. And he might be able to alleviate some of that pressure. Unlike many execs, he actually has that on-set experience. You know, he wrote movies, he directed movies. So I think he could be better at relating to and helping other directors in their movies. Now, I do think that he got this position pretty fast. I mean, he did what, 2 projects for DC, and now he's the guy at the top, but I want to see exactly how the future projects look before I say this is an outright terrible or amazing decision. Oh, and as far as his Guardians of the Galaxy movies go, from my understanding, he has the holiday special and the 3rd film left with Marvel, and then he's done. Unless they sign him on for more projects, but far as I know, he's only on for the Guardians of the Galaxy related content, which should be coming to an end shortly. Now let's talk about Black Adam. How it's performing, will it flop, how are the reviews looking? So according to articles, its opening weekend brought in 60 million domestic and 140 million total, which actually makes this The Rock's biggest opening weekend as leading man. And compared to recent DC titles, it's doing much better than they did, beating out the Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, and Shazam, actually putting it right below Aquaman. But of course, this is all domestic, not worldwide. So overall, a decent opening weekend, and this is without being released in China yet. As of recording, the box office total before going into the second weekend is 159 million. Now, many people think this movie will flop. I don't think it will, but it's definitely not going to be a billion-dollar movie. I think it will do decently well, at least until November 11th when Black Panther releases, and then it's going to be completely overshadowed. But by the end of it, once it drops in China and it had its whole theatrical run, it's probably going to land in the $500 million range, which I guess will kind of make it a flop considering the $200 million budget. But we're going to have to wait and see how this one turns out. Now, as far as the reviews go, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 39% critic rating and a 90% audience score. Although if you go to other sites like Metacritic, CinemaScore, IMDb, and Letterboxd, the rating seems to vary drastically. It's honestly looking like we're going to have another Venom situation on our hands, where audiences seem to really enjoy it, but critics really hate it. Me personally, I liked it, found it to be very fun, but it's definitely pretty derivative of other DC and comic book movies, and outside of the really fun action and some decent cinematography, it doesn't break new ground in terms of story or characters really. But overall, I found it to be pretty entertaining and a lot of fun. But I want to talk a little bit about Rotten Tomatoes and their scoring system for a bit. This section might be a little long, but bear with me. So their scoring system is kind of lame, and pretty misleading at times. So the way the Rotten Tomatoes critics percentage works is that this percentage here is the amount of critics that gave the movie a 6 out of 10 or higher. So for example, if you have 10 critics and 8 of them give the movie a 6 out of 10 and the other 2 critics give the movie a 1 out of 10, then the total percentage is 80% because 80% of the critics gave it a 6 out of 10 or higher. Or let's just say that those same 10 critics gave it a 6 out of 10, which means that the percentage score would be 100% because 100% of the critics gave it a 6 out of 10 or higher. So the percentage isn't actually the average score of the reviews given. It's there to tell you how many critics gave it a 6 out of 10 or higher. Now there is a way to see the actual average of the reviews, and this can drop or increase depending on the movie. But as you can see, it's actually pretty easy to take advantage of this. In Black Adam's case, the average critic score is a 5.1 out of 10, which would make it right over 50%, 11% higher than the advertised 39%. And just like that, it took their percentage from looking bad to now looking average. Now I got curious and looked at some of these Black Adam critic reviews. And the way Rotten Tomatoes works is that it pulls from different reviews from across the internet, and it converts the score that was originally given to fit on their percentage tomato meter. So if some news article gave a movie a B or an A, it will convert that into like a positive fresh rating. Now what's weird about Rotten Tomatoes is that sometimes their conversions don't make sense, and they'll sometimes get the same score or rating from different critics, different scores on their tomato meter. So for example, you can actually find some fresh ratings that have a 3 out of 5, but then at the same time you can also find ones that are rotten with a 3 out of 5, even though it's the same score. And the same thing goes with like C or C plus ratings. Sometimes it considers them positive, so it gives it a fresh rating, but then sometimes it considers it a negative review and gives it a rotten rating, despite the fact that these articles gave it the same score. It's reasons like this people don't trust Rotten Tomatoes. Not only is it easy to manipulate with their whole, 6 out of 10 percentage rating, but also when you start looking at the reviews, sometimes their conversion doesn't really make any sense. Some reviews are considered fresh, others are considered rotten, even though they have the same exact score. I mean, here's another example on how misleading it can be. The new movie X has a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. Pretty damn impressive, right? But when you actually look at the average score from the critics, it's actually a 7.7. But as you can see, 94% of critics gave the movie a 6 out of 10 or higher. Now X isn't a bad movie at all. I just want to use that as an example to show you how drastically different the actual average score is and what the average percentage rating can be. Same thing with Barbarian. 92% on the tomato meter, 7.5 average. So I guess in conclusion, audiences seem to really enjoy Black Adam, and I don't think it's gonna flop. Although it's definitely not gonna be this giant mega hit. But let's wait and see and find out. And finally, Henry Cavill has returned as Superman. He posted a video on Instagram confirming that he is back. He waited until Black Adam premiered to break the news, and honestly, I'm excited to have him back. While doing an interview, Zack Snyder actually sent the video in and asked him a question, so that was actually pretty great to see.
I can't wait to work with you in the future, and you are, of course, the greatest Superman.
You're goddamn right.
He seems excited to be back as Superman officially, and I'm happy to see that. I remember The Rock mentioning that he spent the last year trying to get Henry Cavill to come back, and with his return, that means there's no more headless, faceless Superman cameos in the DCEU. Bro, the fucking Annabelle doll had more appearances in the DCEU than actual casted Superman. That's just fucking wild. But yeah, Henry Cavill's back, and I can't wait to see more of him. But yeah, I think it's going to do for all the news that happened this week with DC. Henry Cavill is back, James Gunn is promoted, will Black Adam be a hit, or will it flop? Leave a comment, let me know. What do you think about all this stuff? Your thoughts, comments, concerns, leave a comment, let me know. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, go and drop a like on it. And we'll give a nice big shout out to the channel members. You guys are certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, click the join button down below to check out the perks. If they interest you, consider joining, or not, it don't matter.
None of this matters.
Bounce on your boy's dick. Hey, got him.
All done. I guess it's time for my payment.
What? Money?
I was thinking of something a little more of the flesh.
Like intercourse with me?
That would make you a whore. I thought you went to Catholic school. I was actually just talking about one of those kittens.
Go for it.
Thanks. I cannot wait to fuck this thing.
What?